Fight fans, welcome to the PBC Podcast, brought to you by Premier Boxing Champions with your host, Kenneth Bouhairie and Michael Rosenthal.
Welcome, everyone, to the PBC Podcast. I'm Kenneth Bouhairie.
And I'm Michael Rosenthal, editor of USA Today's Boxing Junkie.
Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. I've seen a lot of thoughts on social media regarding last weekend's fight, and we'll get into that in a bit. Also, undefeated welterweight contender Rashidi Ellis will be joining us later in the show. But first, we're about to talk to a man who is a true student of the game, a former heavyweight contender, and now a trainer who will once again be in the corner of Deontay Wilder when the former heavyweight champ takes on Robert Helenius Saturday, October 15th, in a Fox Sports pay-per-view headliner from Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. This is a guy we love talking to, and I suspect that will be reinforced right now. Malik Scott. Malik, it's been a long time since we caught up with you. We saw you and Deontay back in the gym getting ready for October 15th. How has camp been so far?
It's been great, man. We've been in full preparation for almost 2 months now. Deontay, we did pre-camp in Las Vegas at the UFC headquarters. And obviously we finished the camp in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where it all come from. And everything is going well, man. Deontay's looking good. His condition is beyond better than what it ever was before. And everything is going well, man. So, crossing all T's and dotting all I's.
Please proceed.
Now, Deontay's going up against Robert Helenius, who's coming off back-to-back KO wins over Adam Konopsky. Give us your thoughts on Helenius as a fighter.
Please.
He's a very dangerous opponent. I think about him all day long. I know his strengths. I know his weakness. He's not a good sparer. So myself or Deontay, none of us on the team are considering, the sparring that we did with him because, we just don't consider that. Plus, Helenius, he shows up good on the night of the fight, not in spar. So we know what we're dealing with, and that's why we're preparing. We're preparing. And Deontay's going to handle this and pass all these tests with flying colors. So, he's putting the work in as usual. He's doing everything to better himself and make himself more of a complete fighter. And we're just looking forward to October the 15th.
So you sort of just alluded to this. Would you say your focus in the gym with Deontay is tailored toward a game plan for Helenius, or is your main focus just working on making Deontay a better fighter?
No, I'm more complete and a better fighter. The type of style and as many things as Deontay can do in the ring, we never really just focusing on one thing. He could do so many different things in the ring, but he can do them against any opponent. Like I said before, just all about, this sounds very arrogant and it sounds very selfish coming from my standpoint, and I mean this. I said it before. Those other guys, when Deontay is on, they're just in the ring. They don't have no say-so. They're just in there. Like, they're just pawns, a part of his story. It's just all about how you want to treat him. And Helenius is about to be another chapter that we're about to close come October the 15th. And he's just as dangerous as any other heavyweight. I don't care what his ranking is or what people try to say. Robert Helenius is a very tough competitor. I'm coming from a coaching standpoint. He's someone I was about to fight before. He's someone that I film studied before. I watch him in the ring with Deontay and other guys. Like I said, he's not a good sparer. He shows up better in the nights of the fights, and that makes him dangerous. So like I said, but us knowing all of these good qualities about him is what makes Deontay even more dangerous. So, like, the fact that we know his weakness and we know his strengths, I look at that like that's more on our side than his, because this Deontay, he's never seen before, even though he's sparring him. He's never seen Deontay with 10-ounce gloves on. He's never seen Deontay giving angles. He's never seen Deontay under the big lights. Deontay has been at this level for almost so many different title defenses, so many. So these big kind of nights, these big events, this is another day at the office with Deontay. But Robert Helenius has never been here before. He's never fought at this level before. He's never fought no one that punches like this. He never fought no one that's still on the edge to learn this open-minded Deontay. So we're going to see he have his hands full. You know what I mean? Like I said, he's a tough opponent, but he really, really has his hands full because Deontay is on a mission. We're on our second reign. And I have no doubt that he's going to become two-time heavyweight champion of the world again.
So this is your second camp with Deontay as the lead trainer.
Mm-hmm.
What improvements, where has he grown since you started working with him?
Well, you have to realize this. Let's talk about the last fight. So people say, well, what's the difference? Well, one, we came up short. And there's so many different things that you learn in defeat. So that's just a natural thing. And you can't forget, Deontay is a late starter in boxing. And all of this stuff he has accomplished in such short little time, believe it or not, guys, he's still been learning on the job. That's very dangerous and scary, in my opinion, for people in the division. Like, all of this stuff he has accomplished, all the stuff he's been doing, this is still someone learning on the job. This is someone still doing certain things to make themselves, like I said, a more complete fighter, a more in-shape fighter, a more like, he's still usually, what I'm trying to say, guys, usually guys that's in the position that Deontay is in, they already are completed. They are not going to get no better than they already are. If anything, they start declining. Deontay has continued to get better and better. Whether you guys want to see it or not, the people that really watch it, the people that really watch boxing, even with their naked eye, they can tell these things. So it's not, I'll always tell them all the time, it's not so much with myself or House or Jay or anyone that's really teaching them new, because I'm the first one to send him film study clips of things he used to do that he may just don't do as much now. Right. So it's not like this is some new stuff. This is not Chinese arithmetic. There's so many different things that he used to do. But as we get older, a lot of us, we forget things, not just in boxing, but in life. So it's our job. My job is as head trainer. Don House, Joey Scott, Cuz Hill, JD's is our job to remind them of, yo, remember this thing. Oh, I'm gonna show you what you used to do. Remember, like, and then it'll resonate to him like, oh yeah, I wasn't even getting hit then. My range is better then, and then those things start to come to resurface. So it's not when people ask me, well, what did you teach it? No, that I don't look at it like that. I'm reminding someone about their success points physical in the ring, and I'm here to remind them I got a hell of a team behind me, behind us, that's helping me do that. So everything that made Deontay Wilder, things that he may have forgotten, myself and, like I said, the whole team, we just reminded him, and then those things come to light. And guess what? What really happens? It either make people like journalists, commentators, to say, oh, when did he start doing that? And of course, since I'm a nerd and I'm a geek, I can go back to the film and show you guys these things he's been doing. But they for some reason, they come across new to certain people, and to casuals. But we going back into the bag of when his distance was much better, when his back foot was extremely on point, when he was moving his shoulders, when he was jabbing from both sides of the ankle, his left and right, when his steps was more shorter. Like, you know what I mean? So these may come across like very minute things. But for fighters like Deontay, these minute things is what makes him the most dangerous heavyweight, in my opinion, that ever come through the sport of boxing. So we just getting back to them things, those small details that make someone like him extremely and even more dangerous. So that's what we're doing.
Now, one thing we've learned that Deontay is doing is road work. Can you tell us what the thought process was behind doing that?
I think it's according to the body type. Quiet as kept, Deontay have always done road work, but him and Joey Scott have done their own form of road work and their own form of cardio. As a man get older, he can't continue to beat his body up on pounding his legs and his knees. You guys don't feel that, or people that don't do this for a lifestyle, y'all can't feel that. The pounding on the knees, constantly running and constantly running on the road, it messes your back up. So we'll say people hear Deontay Wilder doesn't do cardio or run like the typical fighter, and they'll say, well, why isn't he running? They find out, and this is what I was told personally from Vladimir and Vitaly themselves, that they didn't run the last 10, 12 years of their career, and they almost get praised for it.
That's right.
Like, you get what I'm saying? This is something that, Deontay has went through his whole career with stuff like that. Just the stipulations, like one can do it and be criticized about it, and one can't do it and be knocked about it. Because anytime that Vladimir will say, just to make this point, Vladimir has lost the fight, people that say, oh, he got to do more road work, even though at those times he wasn't doing road work, because Vladimir and them just didn't believe in beating up their body and being on the road doing cardio every single day. So that's where Joey Scott, he comes in with the perfect game plan. When I say, like, what I mean by perfect, that means he trains Deontay body accordingly to his training regimen. We'll use the trilogy as an example. He's in him and Tyson Fury are in one hell of a fight. They both get tired because when the fight was ended, people totally forget how tired Tyson Fury was looking. But no one is talking about his cardio. So it goes back to the thing of, like, it just depends on what people are seeing. Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, like I said, he's back. You could say back running, back doing certain kind of cardio. But the mission remains the same. Like, you know, I mean, he's on a mission to become 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. And whatever he has to do to make himself more complete and more better, that's what he's doing.
You kind of led me to my next question. I mean, Deontay's had a long title reign. I think number 6 all time, 10 title defenses. Arguably the greatest knockout puncher in the history of the division. And he's made a ton of money. Do you see the fire, that same drive that he's become known for?
I want to correct you. I want to correct you on something. So, like you just said, he's made a ton of money, but him making a ton of money is not really why he really don't have to do this no more. Because there's tons of fighters that have made tons of money. So now we have to go to the intellect of the man. So what do I mean by that? He made a ton of money and done the right things with the money. Now we go back to him being the intellect and investing well. So what does investing well mean? That means you have to have good decision making. So now those good decision making, as him as a businessman, they have to play out in the ring. So Malik, what fight did he make good decisions in? Fights that you guys don't even appreciate, like Ortiz too, where y'all was focusing on him losing instead of noticing the positioning. I get so emotional talking about this fight. The positioning he was putting Ortiz in. The good decision making he was putting Ortiz in. So I know I kind of hop, skip, and jump because you're talking about the business, but there's so many fighters, and I want to speak on fighters on that. Yeah, they made a ton of money, but they didn't make the best investments. And why didn't they make the best investments with their money? Horrible decision making. Deontay made good decisions in the ring. He's not perfect, but he also made great decisions outside the ring. And that right there is a key point to why he don't have to do this. So he's people driven. He's not money driven at this point. That's why I said that.
So we've been talking about the Fury fight. You've had obviously a long time to reflect on that night. What do you think about now when you think about that the last fight with Fury?
I think it was one hell of a fight. I think Deontay was really emotionally tied in. He really wanted to hurt Fury because there were so many accusations made. There were so many things made. Deontay felt it was really, we was really up against the world. So he went out there all guns blazing. And at times, did we lose track of discipline? At times, did we lose track of game plan? Yes. But all of this stuff is easier said than done in the ring. Myself, JD, and Cuz, and Don, we all tried our best to get him to stick to a game plan. But, you get in there, things are working for you, then things are not, and things may go a little haywire. So what I like about it most is he proved to you guys why he's willing to go out on his shield. He proved to you guys why he's always saying he's ready to die in the ring. Because a lot of fighters say that, but Deontay Wilder really means it. And people could take that as a fortunate thing or an unfortunate thing. But one thing it is for sure is a truthful thing. And that fight right there, the trilogy, is one of the best fights of all time in the heavyweight division. And you got to give credit, not just to Deontay, but for Tyson Fury for stepping up to the plate, getting up off the canvas. Deontay got up off the canvas. It was a magical night, and I was happy to be a part of it.
You just led me right into my next question. So when you started the camp with Helenius, did you address anything that went wrong in the third Fury fight? I mean, are you specifically correcting things that went wrong? And if so, maybe you can give us an example.
Deontay wasn't able to do against Tyson Fury. I truly believe that you have to give credit to Fury for that because he has a good IQ. He's an intelligent boxer. He switched his style up to make a certain adjustments. So I don't believe that Helenius have those same abilities, but I do believe he has abilities that make him special. But what we're working on with Deontay is things that not just won't be successful, that just won't be successful against Helenius. They'll be successful against any of these guys in the top 5. You know what I mean? So I don't want to look. Like I said, I'm not looking past Helenius, you know what I mean? This is not that because he's a very dangerous opponent, but the way Deontay's looking, the way his mentality is, how much of an open book he is to receive knowledge and information, I'm highly impressed with that, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. It's almost like having a toy or having something that you see do so many different things in the ring. You see do so many different things in the ring, and I just want the world to see it. So that's what we just focusing on right now because I know what he can do. I've seen him do it over the years. You guys look at it and y'all see a knockout artist. I look at him as someone that I see set up knockouts. And that's because I'm a why and hows guy. So if I see Deontay knock out somebody in the 5th round, I don't just look at the 5th round. I go back and see how he set them up for round 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then the 5th round is not even the important part to me. The hows is the important part to me. How did the knockout happen? And saying that, you guys should go back and look at Ortiz too, because that's my favorite one of all time.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that. It's one of my favorites too. I felt like it was almost like a George Foreman when he fought Michael Moore. Whenever I watched that fight,
it's prototype. That's a very good analogy. Just prototypes of Foreman and Michael Moore. Everybody was looking at what Moore was doing. Yeah, he was winning the rounds, but Deontay was in control of the tempo of the fight. So how was he in control of the tempo of the fight if Moore was winning rounds with his balance, with his measure, with his left-hand post, was making Ortiz overcommit? Even though at times he wasn't making him pay when he would overcommit, he still was putting him in a comfortable environment. And when Ortiz got extremely too comfortable, lights was out. Now, don't forget, he's not doing this to someone that's a novice. He's not doing this to someone that has Deontay is doing this to high pedigree elite guys. And it's not just coming from power. I wish I could go into that thing with y'all when you say, oh, he's just a knockout. Or I just can't see that like that. I'm watching what he do to Stearns, even in the rematch. Incredible display of just pure scientific violence, how he cut off the rope, went through the guard, then got up and shake and baked him and went around the guard, then went up. Like, this stuff is just this incredible stuff to me, man, but that's because I'm a boxing kid. So I pay attention to a lot more details than most, and I just can't wait for you guys to see him October the 15th.
Well, this is why we love talking to you. Now, one thing that's been discussed a lot following the third Fury fight and leading up to this fight, people looking at photos and stuff, is that they're wondering if, Deontay put on that extra weight for the Fury fight. He was 238. And do you feel that he might have lost some speed and explosiveness in doing that? What are your thoughts on that thinking?
So you got to look at it. 1 + 1 is 2. Deontay Wilder he put on the heaviest he was his career. And then people say, well, we never seen him look that tired. So let's listen to it. He got the heaviest he did in his career. So now, why did he do that? Trying to better himself. Forget all the gossip around it. This is him trying to better himself, listen to certain people on his team, and looking at the fight and just didn't want to get pushed around by a bigger man. So he put the weight on. So people say he got tired quicker. So then they see him now and they say, oh, he's back looking lean. So obviously that particular project was done, that particular weight gain was done for a particular project. So now he's back to how he was when he was getting his best knockouts, which was in a weight fragment between 218 pounds to 225 pounds. That's Deontay. That's extremely, extremely dangerous. Anybody he hit at any weight is going to feel it. But from 215 to 224, 25, this is like career-ending knockout power he does with that. And I got this thing that I forgot one of the sites asked me one day. So this is just me and how I look at stuff. We'll go off of this example again. So they got this thing about Deontay's legs, right? Like that be the gossip. Like grown men like to gossip about like how small his legs is. This just the world we're in. Like they like to gossip about. He could be looking like $1 million, literally, like smooth and groove. They'll look right past that and talk about his legs. So being to the fact I look at things the way I do, to me, the attention should be on people that have bigger, bulky legs but get knocked out cold. The attention should be on people that have bigger, bulky legs but not getting the results ever in their career that Deontay has got. I always think the attention should be on guys that have big legs, big muscles, but they're not doing what you could say a smaller guy is doing. Attention is always in the wrong spots when you're dealing with human beings. But it comes across that this is just a target that Deontay have on his back. It doesn't matter how good he look. People's going to look past a knockout and say, oh, look at his legs. Then if he don't get a knockout, they're going to say it's because of his legs. Then if he do get a knockout, well, I think he should get bigger. Well, then if he do get bigger, well, the weight is too big for him. That's why myself, Deontay, our whole team, Joey, we're individuals that really stick to what make us happy. And we talk amongst each other and come up with game plans that's beneficial collectively for the team. Because you know what I mean, we run a very tight circle, because if we don't, people that on that outside circle that talk, we just can't allow none of that to get in. So, like, I don't think people need to worry about Deontay legs. What they need to do is worry about people that's in the weight room. You got guys, I'm not even going to say no names, but you guys know, these muscle heads in the weight room, doing all of this stuff, taking all of these meds, taking all of these, the stuff that these guys is taking, and they still going in the ring and not getting the resource that a Deontay Wilder has. So, like, it's just like the frustration sometimes, things like that. But I was very, very, very happy to be a part of that trilogy, even though we came in, on the short end of the stick. But I was proud of Deontay. And, of course, I could be proud but still know we have more work to do. I could be proud and still not be extremely happy from a coaching standpoint, because things we could have did better. But that's just not what boxing is about. That's what life is about. So you go back to the lab. You go back and make it right, and that's what we've been doing.
Very good. Malik, switching gears, you've got another heavyweight in your stable, Stephen Shaw. For the fans who don't know him, tell us a bit about him.
Stephen.
Excuse
Say
me.
that man name right. That man named Stephen Shaw. You called that man Stephen?
I'll be his next knockout victim, I guess.
I'm gonna make sure, man. No,
Stephen Shaw. Now I know. So for the fans who don't know him, including me, tell us a bit about him and what you think of his potential.
I'm very, very big on his potential. He could do almost everything that could be done in the ring that's good for someone his size, and he does everything good. So that kind of puts you in a position where if he does everything good, that sounds like he has the potential to be great one day. And I'm saying that now, that if Stephen Shaw continue to put himself in dangerous situations with big punches like Deontay, learning on the job, continuing to perfect his craft, continuing to be a student of the game, continuing to take no prisoners. And he has a very dark, dark spirit when he's boxing, even when he's backing up. What I mean by that is when you see the greats like Pernell Whitaker boxing, we'll say Hector Camacho, you don't see a darkness. But when you see Gerald McKellen, when you see Deontay Wilder, when you see an early Tyson, when you see Tommy Hearns, when you see even Sugar Ray Leonard, who was a boxer at times, you still see a darkness. Stephen Shaw has that same darkness, whether he's coming forward, whether he's going back, stepping to his left, stepping to his right. And Top Rank is very, very big on this kid, Jared Anderson, who's a good fighter, but they're overstepping their boundaries by not giving Stephen Shaw the type of attention and the type of marketing that he needs to be behind him. Because if you ask me, if Stephen Shaw fought Jared Anderson, I think Stephen Shaw would win. This kid's been boxing his whole life. His grandfather was my coach in the Junior Olympics. Stephen Shaw, he comes from it. He's been boxing Deontay for the last since 2018, he's been doing nothing but learning. And then he'd leave camp with Deontay, and they put him in fights, and he's run through guys. Then he comes back in camp months later with Deontay and learn. And I'm very impressed with him, very impressed. And I was very impressed with his last stoppage because he showed so many different elements and so many different looks in his last knockout. So, I like to play devil advocate, because I know people like to say, well, the guy he fought wasn't really nobody. Who did he knock out? Yeah, but it was the way he did it. I watched other people knock him out, but it's the way he did it. It's almost like Deontay fought this kid named David Long in Ohio years ago. It was on the undercard, I think, of Adrian Bone and DeLeon, something like that. And I've seen David Long get stopped before and get knocked out or something like that. But the way Deontay did it, it reminded me of something that I've seen Tommy Hearns do to, like, we'll say, Pepino Cuevas when he won that title. And I was like, oh, this is like serious. So sometimes it's not about someone taking out the trash. It's the manner and how they're taking out the trash. Because all these fighters, all of us, we come up fighting guys that's not on our level, and we use them to build. So how do you differentiate the best from the rest of the crop? Is who's taking out the trash the best.
How far away is he from contender status and then ultimately a title shot, do you think?
Well, I think he's contender status right now. I don't know how they got him number 7 in the U.S., and the people they have over him is just like pathetic. But that's a whole different thing right there, because that's about stuff that I'm not even about, how people get in rankings and stuff like that. But he's a contender, in my opinion now. I would not call him a prospect, even though I have at times. He's a real contender. And I just want you guys to be aware of him, keep an eye out on him, look at his last knockout, look at the details in his last knockout, look at how he handled the whole situation with pure humility. Going into these fights, veterans' job is not even to beat prospects, it's just to make it through the distance. But since Stephen Shaw know that no one has given him enough and the world don't owe him anything, and they basically trying to put shackles on him and not get him to a certain level for people to see him, he takes that darkness in the ring. I can't wait till you guys get a load of him, man. Like, he's special in his own way.
That's awesome. We'll definitely be looking out for him. Now, sticking with the heavyweight division, we recently watched Andy Ruiz outpoint Luis Ortiz in a close fight. Did you watch that fight? And if so, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I watched it. I thought Ortiz, he didn't jab enough. I thought he could have beat Andy with a consistent offbeat jab, because whenever it is he was throwing it, he was landing it. And I thought Ruiz, he did his, Ruiz, it's one-dimensional, but he does, you could say a few things in that dimension. So when he's coming forward, he's not the typical come-forward guy. He's coming forward, and he's slipping. He's coming forward, and he's trying to punch on the clinch. He's coming forward, and he may hit you a little bit on the belly button and come over top. So he comes forward with a system of some sort. But I think that's a 3-round fight, maybe for Deontay Ruiz.
Wow.
I thought him and Ortiz was a good fight. You got to give it to Ortiz because of his age, his inactivity, but look at the type of performances he's putting up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I was happy. Boxing won. I was happy for Ortiz. He got a chance to feed his family, and Ruiz got a chance to show people that he, once again, he could be in tough fights and come right back and take a lick and keep on ticking. But none of those guys is on Deontay's level, man. I really can't wait for people to see, because so many people have him one dimension. I just don't, man. I watched the guy do so many different things in the ring, and I want you guys to see it.
That's a strong statement, though. 3 rounds.
Yeah, but it's a strong statement. But look who I'm saying can do it to him. This is not a bad thing. This is just it's a practical. You could say it's a practical, factual thing in a sense, because it's very practical. Deontay can knock anyone out in the first 3 rounds if he land correct. I'm sorry that is Ruiz that I'm saying it about, but I don't take no prisoners with my film study. I don't take no prisoners when I make predictions, especially when it comes to Deontay. If I make a prediction when it comes to Deontay and it doesn't happen, it's not because I was all the way wrong. It was something that maybe adjustment wasn't made. So we'll say, the Fury 3 fight, I predicted that Deontay would clip him between 1 and 5 rounds. Our 4th round was around Deontay knocked him down twice. But if people stop being fanatics and sensationalizing guys and say, "No, Malik, why would you say that?" Why would I say that? Well, if you study Fury, you'll know between 2 and 5 rounds, he starts taking his opponent for granted. And that's when he gets in the most trouble in previous fights. I don't say predictions because I'm repping or because I'm trying to be cool. I say predictions off of database film study fights off of what I'm seeing. That, like, there is no, I'm trying to hope or I'm trying to guess. I'm only going off of what I see, especially with Deontay, because I'm very compassionate about it. He's just not my fighter. I look at him as a real brother. So when I'm telling him something, I'm willing to put the house on it because I have to, because I'm going off of film. It's just up to people if they just want to accept the facts. And even if I'm wrong, it's not because my facts was wrong. It's just because someone else was the better man that day. Like, you get what I'm saying? So even when I'm wrong, I'm right. Didn't Scarface say that?
Yeah. I always tell the truth, even when I lie.
Yeah, I always tell the truth, even when I lie. Right. So it's something like that, man. But, yeah, that's not... And that's not like a personal thing that I don't like Andrew Ruiz. I have no problem with Andrew Ruiz. I'm happy he won the title. When he beat Joshua, it was a good thing for America. This, that, and the third. My prediction is not coming from off of who I like. I won't do that. If I have to make a prediction off of who I like, I'll just be quiet. It'll just be silent. But look how the game is just getting lost now, because Angel Reeves is a come-forward fighter, correct? Deontay Wilder is arguably the hardest puncher in the division, correct? This is just facts so far. Andy Ruiz coming forward, Deontay land first. God forbid he land on a repetition state. There's no way he's standing up to that. I don't care who it is. There's a reason Tyson Fury was willing to put weight on and just maul Deontay and literally wear him down. There's a reason he didn't play the 50-50 position with Deontay. There's a reason that he even was all the way out or all the way in Deontay's chest. There's a reason for that. And Tyson Fury would tell you the reason, because he's never felt no power like that in his life. Now, Andrew Ruiz, he'll have a choice to make. But whatever choice he makes fighting Deontay, he's going to have to take a chance. And by him taking a chance, he's putting his own self at risk. Like, Deontay is built so many different ways, so when you're preparing him for somebody, you're really preparing him for 10 other people, because stylistically, he can just do everything he wants to do in the ring. I don't know how to train him like he's a one-punch knockout artist. I'm sorry. He'll never be boxing like Hector Camacho under my watch, but I definitely won't have him just sitting still, being a Ura guy, looking like a big robot and just waiting to hit or club somebody with one punch. No, that's not happening. He's going to use his speed. He's going to use his agility. He's going to use his angles. He's going to use humility. He's going to use his left hand post. He's going to use his right hand touches to set up a bad intention right hand. He's going to do all these things. And what does that do? That makes him more of a complete fighter. That's my job. Not just with Deontay, for anybody I train, just make him more of a complete fighter, because he already can fight.
Malik, we wanted to ask you about something. So Alexander Usyk just beat Anthony Joshua a second time. I guess Usyk plans to be at ringside on October 15 to watch the Wilder Helenius fight. What are your thoughts on a possible Usyk-Wilder fight?
I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, I'm looking forward to Deontay getting rid of Helenius right now, but I'm looking forward to it. I hope Sasha comes to the fight. I just was with him for 7 weeks in Dubai. There's no secret about how I feel about his style. There's no secret about how I feel about his base, him as a complete fighter. The guy is great, but I think there's only one person in the division that stands a chance at really beating him, and it's not Tyson Fury, it's Deontay Wilder, because that's when power comes into the equation when you're dealing with a Usyk. That's when setting someone up really comes, because you can't just go at him like that. Like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, when the fight comes and if the fight happens, once everything is done, we'll have some stuff. What I mean about some stuff, we'll have a legit game plan. Usyk is somebody I've been boxing for years, man. The guy that flew me to Ukraine. We didn't box together, got so many rounds together. I know him so well. Like, you know what I mean? We spent so much time together. And this is not personal. But just when it comes to Deontay, I have no picks with my film study. I have no picks on opponents. I have no picks with none of them guys. They all are food to me, because Deontay is on a mission to be two-time heavyweight champion in the world, and I'm on a mission with him. So this has to get done. I think there's only one heavyweight in the world that has a chance at beating Usyk, and that's Deontay Wilder.
Interesting.
Stylistically, if you think about everyone that Usyk has fought, right? Then think about they built. Then think about their size. You can't be an oversized heavyweight and give him trouble, because he specialized in fighting bigger guys very well. Deontay is lean. Deontay is fast. Deontay has a great jab. Deontay has, you already know, an incredible right hand. He has great balance when he wants to focus in on it. That's just what I feel about it, man. I think there's only one heavyweight in the world that could beat Usyk, and that's Deontay Wilder. And it would be by knockout. That's the only way it would have to happen. And to do that, to knock a Usyk out, you have to have a one-hitter quitter. You just have to have it.
Malik, let's close this out by circling back to Helenius. So how do you expect October 15 to play out?
Helenius is going to come, in my opinion. He's going to try the Tyson Fury factor, and he's going to try to push forward at first. But he's going to find out real early, and if he's adamant about some of the things I've been reading, that he's going to come forward and he's going to use Tyson Fury tactics against Deontay. What I mean by that, not dirty tactics, but just coming forward and putting Deontay on the back leg. He's going to find out very early in this fight that Deontay is not someone you can bully. Deontay is not giving up ground like that. And Deontay has 10 ounces on, and that's going to make him reminisce that when I got hit by Deontay before, it's with 18 ounces on. And from there, Once he realizes this is a whole different type of athlete, this is a whole different type of event of athlete, I believe, I don't even have a round, but I believe once he feels Deontay with those 10 ounces on, you're going to see the shock in his eyes the same way you did when Adam hit him. Even though he got through that rough time and came back and stopped Adam, you're going to see the shock in his eyes. And when you see that shock, it'll be a matter of time before Deontay get him out of there. But I want it done in grand fashion, coming from a coaching standpoint. If Deontay doesn't look extremely, extremely great and doesn't take Helenius out in grand fashion and style, like I know he's capable of doing, then to me it don't even fucking matter. And that's not even no pressure, because this is what Deontay do. There's tons of men that fell because they can't deal with the scope out Deontay. They could deal with, anything else, but when he want to scope you out and David Long you and Stavern to you and Ortiz to you, and it's a wrap. He just has to want to do it. All those guys are just in the ring. They have no say-so. They're just pawns. They're chapters. All Deontay got to do is just go in the book and read them and turn the page. Checkmate, king me type shit. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a great fight as long as it lasts. But before it's over, Deontay is going to be looking fundamentally intact. He's going to be setting the guy up, and he's going to be on sniper time. And when he's on sniper time, he's unstoppable.
Can't wait. We can't wait. Malik, it's always a joy to talk to you. Thank you for taking the time out to speak to us. We look forward to seeing you on October 15th. Can't wait to see the fight, and I'm sure we'll have you back on before then or right after.
All right, just hit me, guys, and just get ready, because Deontay is back. We're about to be 2-time heavyweight champion of the world. He's looking better than ever.
It's time for the week in review. Last Saturday, undisputed 168-pound champ Canelo Alvarez took on unified middleweight champion Gennady Golovkin for the third time. First fight, 2007, ended in a very controversial draw. Their second fight a year later wound up being a close points win for Canelo, but there was no drama in the third fight as Canelo won a 12-round unanimous decision to retain his titles. Mike, what did you think of the fight?
I don't know if I had expectations, but if I did, I think I would have been disappointed. It wasn't a very good fight at all. Golovkin is 40 years old, and he looked it in that fight, especially in the first 2/3 of the fight. We learned afterwards that Alvarez had a problem with his left hand and other injuries, and he faded down the stretch, which sort of allowed Golovkin to do a little something at the end. But overall, it was just it wasn't a great fight.
No, it wasn't. I didn't expect it to be a great fight, but I expected more of a dominant performance from Canelo, given Golovkin's age. But I'll touch on that in a little bit. Let's talk about the scoring. One judge had Canelo winning 116-112. The other two scored it 115-113 in his favor. A lot of folks thought that was a little too close for comfort. What did you think?
A little too close. I thought the scoring was. I thought the 116-112 was bad. The 115-113 cards were just, I don't even get it. I gave Golovkin 1 round. I can see giving him 2, maybe 3 if you gave him the first round and then 2 of the last 4, but that's sort of giving him the benefit of every doubt, in my opinion. But 5 rounds, which is what 2 judges did.
Weird.
That means that if those 2 judges gave Triple G just 1 more round, we would have had a draw in that fight.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the uproar if that happened? Once again, the right man won the fight. Thank goodness. But we're left shaking our heads over the scoring again. The fight, as I said earlier, the fight itself was bad. We didn't need a bizarre scorecards on top of that.
Yeah, it really was strange. I'm not quite sure what they were watching or what the goal was, or whether they were compensating for prior fights. I really didn't understand it. Let's talk about the fighters, though. Starting with the winner, Canelo Alvarez. What did you think of his performance?
I thought he was so at best. His performances against Bivol and now in this fight make me wonder whether he started to decline. After all, he turned pro at 15. He's been doing this at a high level for 17 years. While 32 isn't old by today's standards, he's not a young guy anymore. That said, I'll take his word that he's had some problems. I read somewhere that he's had problems with his knees. which has made it difficult for him to do road work, for example. That might have played a role in the fact that he faded down the stretch. And he said he came into the fight with an injured left hand. Going back to the Caleb Plant fight, and he said he's going to have surgery on that. So maybe his body's just starting to fall apart. I think that's plausible. That's a possibility. Anyway, he definitely hasn't looked the same in the last 2 fights. I think he's looked kind of ordinary in consecutive fights.
Yeah, and the stamina thing I think is a little is troubling. I mean, I was disappointed in his performance, and maybe he's set way too high a bar. I mean, he did win this pretty clearly, but I was disappointed in his performance. I thought he was going to stop Golovkin. He did come within inches of landing a home run bomb, but I thought he lacked some explosiveness and a little bit of, I don't know if hunger is the right word, but for a guy who was talking about how personal this was and he was going to knock him out, I don't get it. You know
what? There might be that. I hadn't thought about that till. I thought about it a couple of days ago. I haven't thought about it, since we started preparing for the podcast. But I don't think he was up for this fight either. I think that he never wanted this fight. Remember, he said after the second fight, that's finished business. I think there's probably pressure from DAZN to do that. I'm sure there was pressure from DAZN to do this fight, and it probably made some money. From a business standpoint, it wasn't horrible. But I don't think he really wanted this fight. That also might have played a role in this. But I agree with you. I'm watching. After 2/3, I thought he was sort of building towards something a little bit spectacular. Instead, sort of the opposite happened. He just kind of fell flat at the end of the fight.
Yeah, he did, and he faded. I mean, you kind of mentioned he may be in decline. Do you think that's what it is, or do you think that, he's fought so many times and he's just tired? What is it?
I think it's possible that he's in decline. I think it's possible that his body's starting to fail him, which happens to fighters sometimes. I thought of Vitaly Klitschko. Vitaly Klitschko, I don't remember exactly how old he was, but he basically retired. He just had too many injuries. I mean, I think one of his fights was canceled because of a problem with his knee, I think, or shoulder. And he just said, okay, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. And then he sat out for 4 years. And that time allowed his body to heal completely. Right. And then he came back and he regained the championships. I'm not saying it's an exact parallel, but it made me think of that. Maybe he just needs to be away from boxing for a year or something. He sort of hinted at that. Stay away from boxing for a year. Let your body heal and see how you feel.
Yeah, exactly. What about Golovkin? What do you think of his performance?
Well, he didn't show up for the first 2/3 of the fight. I get that you want to preserve energy at 40, but you can't give away 7-8 rounds like that and expect to win the fight. He looked like he was just trying not to get hit in those rounds. That was his objective. He was throwing some jabs, kind of poking out his jab. He threw single-digit power punches, I think, in the first 7 or 8 rounds. I'm not sure the exact number of rounds, but something like that. So I don't know. Then when Canelo started to tire, then Golovkin picked it up a little bit in the last 4 rounds, and I still thought that his punches were inaccurate. But I have to give him a little bit of credit because at least he picked up his pace a little. Overall, I thought he looked his age. I think he's done as a top fighter, and I think he knows that. He told someone before the fight, and I can't quote him exactly. I'll paraphrase. He said something like, "I hope people don't judge me based on this fight." I think he sort of knew that he's got what he has at this point. It's not what he used to have. I think he's done as a top guy.
Yeah, I wondered, maybe the extra weight slowed him down. I obviously he's not as dynamic as he was when he was younger. But maybe the opposition played a role. But I felt like he threw more punches versus Murata in his last fight than he did in this one. His performance in this one was, I thought, was extremely troubling. But then again, he was 40 years old. What should be next for Canelo?
Well, what he said and what I just said, rest. Again, if he's having these physical problems, he needs to give his body time to heal. He suggested that he said he might stay out till next May, which is what he would do anyway, or maybe until September. I would suggest the latter. I would skip May and then just go right to Mexican Independence Day next year. It sounds like he wants Bivol again, assuming Bivol beats Gilberto Ramirez, which isn't a given. I think he's
not at all.
But you never know. Ramirez is a good fighter. I personally would rather see him fight David Benavidez or Jamal Charlo or even Demetrius Andre, but that's just me. That's just sort of me as a fan, sort of saying who I would like to see him fight. Anyway, bottom line for me is if I'm advising him, stay out of the ring for a while. Let your body heal, however long it takes.
Yeah, I mean, based on what I saw on Saturday night, I don't think, I know he said, what is Benavidez accomplished? I don't know, dude. I think you need to see him in the ring.
I'm so tired of hearing that. It's so obvious to everybody else that Benavidez is a serious threat to him. I mean, I don't even listen anymore. I just kind of roll my eyes when I see that and say, just fight him then. If
exactly.
if he hasn't done anything, then fight him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there are a few guys that he fought that you could make a similar argument against, but this guy's an undefeated 2-time champion. He hasn't beat in the ring, and
Anthony Durrell's no pushover. It's not like he's fought nobody.
Right, and based on what I saw on Saturday night, he would present serious problems for Canelo. How about Golovkin? Where does he go from here?
He made it clear, tell me if you disagree, that he plans to move back down to 160 and defend his title.
Like it.
Yeah, at least that's what I took away from what he said. That's fine. He could probably still be competitive with like second-tier guys like Zarameta and Murata, you mentioned, at least for maybe a fight or two more. I don't know. I don't see the point. Unless it's about money for him. Maybe he just loves the sport so much that he just has to keep doing it. I don't get that from him either, to be honest with you. Guy's already a Hall of Famer, so that's not going to change no matter what happens. But he certainly isn't helping his legacy by continuing to fight. We were talking.
Isn't this how it always ends, though?
Usually, well, not always. I always think of why am I blanking on the English fighter who the one-punch knockout and walked away?
Carl Froch.
Yeah. Carl Froch. I'm suddenly blanking on Carl Froch. He's one of my favorite fighters, and I blanked on his name. So yeah, that's an exception. Very few guys go out like that. We were talking about this off the podcast. Maybe he fights Erislandy Lara, who's 39 years old. I guess he's the mandatory. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. But he shouldn't fight. If I were him, I wouldn't fight Charlo. That would be a mistake.
Yeah, I think Jamal Charlo. Although it would be an undisputed fight.
But he'd get his. He'd get his ass handed to him.
Probably. Probably. What about Lara though? What do you think about that fight?
I think it's two older guys. Lara's not what Lara's the kind of guy who relied a lot on his speed and athleticism, I think, although he's such a brilliant boxer that I think he can compensate for. He's still a good boxer, but you notice in his last couple of fights, he's a little bit more aggressive than he used to be. I think that's sort of by necessity. He can't move like the way he did before. So it's probably a reasonable matchup. I don't know, two former guys who were really good at one point who aren't that great. But I think Lara's a step ahead of Golovkin at this stage of the game. I really do. I think I would pick Lara in that fight. But I think the fact that Lara's pushing 40 and Golovkin's pushing 40, I think you could.
You never know.
They're sort of in the same the same situation.
Plus, Lara hasn't faced the Canelo. You talk about his last three opponents or so. We really don't know if he's declined, how much he's declined.
That's true. Right. That's
could be a closer fight than we think. I'd love to see it. All right, it's time to bring in our next guest. He is an undefeated welterweight contender. He's one itching to make a name for himself in boxing's hottest division, Rashidi "Speedy" Ellis. All right, Rashidi, first and foremost, how are you doing, family, friends? How's everybody doing?
Everybody's good. It's going good right now. Can't complain.
That was good to hear, man. Last time I saw you, you did a small video for the Ruiz-Ortiz fight, and it looked like you shot the video in the gym. Have you just been staying in the gym since your last fight?
Yeah, of course. I'm in the gym right now.
Jeez.
I just taking some pad work.
That's
there you
awesome.
Go. So we last saw you in July when you blasted out Jose Marufo. I know it was only one round, but did it feel good to be back in the ring, under the bright lights after a long layoff?
Yeah, it definitely felt good to be back in the ring.
Very good. So
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been quite a long time. How did you feel? Did you feel rusty at all? Did you feel good?
No, I thought I was so rusty, but I felt good. So just like sparring.
Very, very good. So you came in at 153 for that fight. Was that because of the layoff, or is there a chance that you might actually campaign at 54? Because it sounds like I've read some quotes and so forth. It sounds like you probably will go back down to 147.
No, my first fight was supposed to be at 47. I was gonna make 47. Then the late replacements came, and I guess they wanted to go up in weight, so I was like, why not?
Okay.
I get to eat a little bit more.
Now, is there any word on when you might return to the ring?
Hopefully November. Hopefully I get on. Hopefully the undercard of Terrence Crawford and Spence.
Oof. We love the sound of that. Any word on who the opponent might be, or potential opponents?
I don't know, but it don't matter to me. I'll fight anybody.
So we heard Steven Espinoza mention Jaron Boots Ennis as a potential opponent for you. Is that a fight that has been discussed as far as you know? And if so, do you like that matchup?
It never been discussed, but yeah, that's a great fight. That's a great fight for the fans and everybody.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to see it.
I want to see it too.
Sorry, go. What was that?
Oh, I was saying I want to see it too.
Very good. Do you see yourself in Boots as maybe the next generation version of Spence Crawford?
Yes, definitely. I don't see why not.
So are they? I mean, so you said that hasn't been discussed. Are there any names that you're thinking about, or potential opponents? Nothing specific.
There's a lot of fighters on PBC and with the division. Who they got? I don't know their names. I suck with names. They got that guy named Cody from Canada.
Cody Crowley.
Yeah, him and the dude with the WBC belt.
Imanta Stanionis, WBA.
Yeah,
you're talking about. Yeah.
I took the names. My fault. Yeah, so anybody really don't matter.
I hear you, man. And you know, it's funny because we don't hear a lot of guys calling you out. So, we want to hear from you. I know you suck with names, but if you had to pick like your next 3 opponents, who would they be?
I don't blame them for calling me out. But next 3, the 3 I just named: Cody, Espinoza, and Ennis, whatever his name is. Yeah.
Okay. We'll take any of those fights. You said you don't blame them for not calling you out. What is it about Rashidi Ellis that will enable him to beat the other top welterweights? What qualities do you have that will lead you to the top?
I just got it. I just got the hit, and I'm too fast, and I got great defense, so I just hit them all day and make them miss.
They can't hit you.
And a lot of people don't like that. Yeah,
I get that. Now, one thing we know about you is that, you sparred with both Canelo Alvarez and Demetrius Andre during your layoff. What was that like, and how much did you learn?
I've been sparring both of them for years, and I learned a lot from them. I learned just the little things. I learned a lot just being in the ring with them.
Okay. Excuse me. Speaking of Canelo, what did you think of the fight with Gennady Golovkin last Saturday?
Oh, yeah, he did what he had to do. He made Triple G miss a lot of shots, so Triple G was less aggressive because he didn't want to keep on missing. So I think he did what he had to do. Looked like he got a little tired, though, Canelo, at the end, but he did his thing.
Is that what it's like in sparring with Canelo, that it's hard to hit him?
Yeah, he got good defense.
Very good. So last question. Does it feel like you're up against the clock and in a rush to get to the top, or are you just sort of trusting the process and taking your time?
Yeah, trusting the process. I still feel young. I feel good, no pain or nothing. So. Yeah.
But it sounds like you're ready to take that next step, though.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. I've been ready for that.
We'll be watching.
Appreciate that.
All right, Rashidi. Go ahead, Ken.
Oh, no, I was going to say, man, I mean, we can't wait to see you back in the ring. We're hoping it's November. Thanks again for taking out the time. We look forward to talking to you again soon.
Okay, no problem. Thank you, man. Nice talking to you.
That's going to do it for this week's show. We want to thank Rashidi Ellis and Malik Scott for joining us, and we want to thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check us out next week for more boxing talk, more interviews right here on the PBC Podcast.